Welcome back to Anime Savants, everyone. This week I am Sue. Wait, no, that's not her fucking name. Whatever, I'm fucking Ariel. But like the new Ariel with like the jetpacks and like the big ass gun. The big gun. Yeah, that's
the big
who
fucking
I am.
gun. I think is the critical piece there.
Yes.
Who do I want to be this week? What was the name of that? The old swordsman from Beasts of Ours, because he had the.
Oh, Zen.
Yeah, Zen. Yeah, I'm Zen.
Yeah.
Give me that.
Yeah. Oh, what? Well, okay. Well, speaking of that, but other thing, did you see the new promotional, the visual for season 2?
Yes.
So that all of that bright, happy, dappy, slappy color palette.
Bye.
It's gone. We're done with that shit.
Bye.
It's over. It's over. This is gonna be some Gundam from here on out. So, great lead up. Great first season. Great lead up. And here we fucking go. All right.
Didn't know we were getting it in April. I don't know why. We talked about this, that they were having only a 1-season gap, but
yeah, I think. Well, I was confused. I thought they were doing a 2-season gap. And we were gonna get it in summer, but April, I'm not complaining about that. Which also, April's season is also looking to be stacked with a lot of new stuff, which is great. But then that's also just like, well, shit. Now I want to try everything out. So great, and it's Hell's Paradise is in April, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, that's gonna be something there.
I'm very excited. Very excited. Normally, like. When I judge my level of interest in a season, it's usually actually given by how much time I think I'm gonna have to watch stuff rather than like what actually comes out. Because it's like, eventually the chaff will fall away. You're down to like 3 or 4 series. It's kind of manageable. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have time to watch all the things I really want to see that I know will be good. Like it's a problem at this point. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Zen, what did you think of ours?
They finally kind of got the tempo back up with a lot of pieces of the main story.
Yes.
So I think the highlight for me of this episode was Zen versus the dude with the size.
Facade. What was his name?
That's what he said. I don't remember if that's like an alias or if that's.
I think it's an alias or something. Yeah.
But there was so much in this episode that. We built up a little bit, like, the fact that when Kumi runs into the other cleric and then has, like, the mental breakdown where you see the it's either, I guess it's a flashback, but with all the other Kumi clones where she's, like, on an altar or something. It's like, come on, bro, this is cool. What's going on?
I mean, that gave me flashbacks to, not Faputa. What the fuck is homegirl that got put into the case?
Shit. From Made in Abyss.
From the movie.
Bone
Druth little girl. Oh my god, I done forgot her name already. That's so bad. The season was so traumatic. I done forgot the damn girl's name. Oh well, y'all know who I'm talking about. The one, the whistle, the whistle. But that gave me a flashback to that. So I was like, oh my god, is this about to get really dark? And then it did it. It just showed them like staring at her.
Yeah, it's mad creepy. Also, like the witches or whatever they were, the ones we're talking about, the acts of resistance against God, and
the gods of ours are
right, and they got the weird headdresses with the weird faces on them.
I wanted to see if the faces were talking at the same time as them, because that would have been fucking creepy. But they kept panning it down. Yeah, and I don't know if it's just like an affect or whether it's like a. Something else that's just a look. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But either way, we got a lot of violence in this episode.
Death.
A lot of it. Like, mad people died because all the mountain people got turned into dust.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy. Again, the fight at the beginning, Facade and Zen. We get Facade again versus Jiro.
And Jiro, I don't think... Did Jiro always have... Wait, okay, yes, he did always... He had like a time limit with Kumi. Yeah, there was always a time limit. But for some reason, he said this. It seemed as though this time he said like he felt like his energy was being drained. So I'm assuming that was because of the perfect, not the perfect Kumi, but the
other girl, whatever.
Yeah,
it was.
the other girl. It was
related to that. But also, like, Kumi couldn't keep her shit together. Yeah. So I don't know if they have to be in sync.
When Facade didn't remember Jiro, because those two guys that got the reassignment, they were in the basement, and one of them was like, "Do you know how you can get a shit ton of money? You can go join this troop." And he was like, "Yeah, I want to join it." And then they were like, "Oh," he's like, "You dumbass! Like, they give you so many drugs, you don't even remember who you are."
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if that's what happened to Facade. Like, was he part of Special Forces after he and Jiro? I don't know. We still don't even know what happened with that.
Something happened, and it definitely was like a disastrous mission of some kind. You know, shit went real left, and it may be the case that because Jiro quit, you know, obviously he got to keep his mind intact, whereas it looks like Facade stuck around because he still had his cleric with him, and you know, whatever. I don't know.
But he apparently hates paladins,
right? So it's all very curious, and that's what I mean. Like I'm invested to find out what that relationship is and sort of what actually happened. And in the previous weeks, I think one of the, I won't call it like a problem, but it's just a fact of what they were doing. You couldn't necessarily be sure what story they were going to follow. It probably wasn't going to be one of the B or C stories that we get a little breadcrumb on. So the reason I like this episode so much is because finally we're like merging the streams.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, now I feel more confident that in the next episode or two, we're going to learn more about whatever their relationship was, whatever that history was, whatever the fuck is going on. So now I'm sort of more excited.
Oh, I like the history drops, too, about Homegirl talking about the prophecy and that the beasts, or like the head of the beasts was mad that the humans built walls or some shit like that. And I'm like, okay, so there's definitely some pact or something that was made that was broken. But then we also have, I thought that scene with the prime minister or whatever and the scientist, I thought that was real interesting because he had the scientist shook.
Yeah.
Like a motherfucker. And they keep highlighting those green, whatever, candy crystals. Yeah. And we still don't know where they come from. So
I mean, I think it's a good guess that, you know, it's from the beasts, and but it has some relation to the power that the clerics have, but clearly, like that black mist is different than just like you know, what allows Jiro to kind of be a superhuman even without merging. So there's a lot of stuff in there that you know, it's not yet been described what's going on, but it's still really, really interesting. And I assume we'll be forced to learn a lot more about it, because we're gonna get a rematch. I mean, obviously.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. But I really did enjoy Zen and Facade's fight. That shit was fun.
Yes. No, I agree. I mean, look, sometimes the show kind of cuts its corners, but I think like it does so to save a little bit of money for episodes like this, because there was a minimum of still shots and then, you know, people talking. Like, a lot of action. I thought Milan also had interesting, like, a little bit of character growth, even though he was mostly with Baban in the episode. Like, you start to see what that group is together, and they all kind of do have chemistry, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think the main thing we're missing is Rabbit Girl's history.
Yeah, so I think that we have more backstory to learn, but actually, now that I think about it, like, what are the big questions? It's what's Jiro's history with clerics and how he got where he was. What is the origin of Kumi? Her relationship to like the lab, the other like I assume they're clones, you know, like those are the big questions. As of right now, nobody else's backstory really plays into like answering any of that or like any of the drama that we're dealing with at the moment. So I'm pretty confident that for Milan, for the Chapeau, and then also for the Rabbit Girl, like you could deal with that in an episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guess. So I'm good. I'm happy with it. It was pretty.
Yeah.
If you take out the fight scenes and that one bit with like the politician and the scientists, they're actually that's the whole episode, because there was a lot of action. It wasn't a lot of like.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that did last a while.
Yeah, which I'm happy with. I'm happy with that. I'm not upset at all.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting like craziness. I was just expecting movement, and we got a lot of it. So yeah. I agree. That was good. What did you think of Kaina?
I thought that I like to watch Kaina now because I forget. You know, like people, the CGI, this or that. Like something about the animation is very like. It's a weird word to use, but it's very like calming to look at. Like it's like a pleasant watch.
That scene where they like first walked out into the snow sea underneath.
I
was like, this is gorgeous. Like, what the fuck, man? It looked really, 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 really good. And then their journey throughout it. And my first thought when they started walking out through that shit, I was like, because no one has explored this shit, y'all are gonna run into a monster or two that you've never ran into. And that's exactly what happened. And I was like, thank you. This is logical. And now, in the back of my head, I don't have to be like, okay, but what about Snow Sea? And what about the things that are down there? What about it's like, no, they got attacked by some shit that they weren't expecting, and they got away. That's enough for now. But overall, what did you think of the Admiral?
So, I still can't stop looking at...
I noticed the cat ears this time.
You saw the cat ears? It's hard to unsee it once you see. I mean, it's definitely on purpose, but
yeah.
Like when I look at it, I'm like, oh, she's kind of cute, but she's also evil as fuck. No, so the Admiral. So you're talking about like the scene at the end when I thought
that nigga was gonna actually like do some. I thought he was gonna like scar Lilia's face or some shit with like the hook, because he was just like, oh, okay, like, and she was talking back.
Oh, yeah, she had that sass mouth. You know,
yeah,
she let it fly.
Like, you could get like a hole through your chin. Like, relax. But
I like the fact that this show, with maybe the exception of Kaina, but even in his case too, a lot of very confident characters. Like everybody is very confident, and the reason why that's good is because when you need to like move the story or like properly define one character in opposition to another, it becomes believable. Like Lilia basically be like, yo, my dad's not gonna, budge on shit, and fuck you, essentially. Like, I'm gonna die on my feet. Like, let's go. Like, I believed that her character would say that and would act that way, also, even though she's still a child.
Smart. She's good at like spinning shit, because that whole thing with the other princess, she almost had her ass for a moment there.
I mean, she put her in a position where she at least had to think about whether Lilia was telling the truth about the sage. And so to back up, like in that scene, so Lilia is locked up on the ship, and she essentially threatens her captors by saying, I got to the canopy, I met the sage.
Coming for you, nigga.
Right, and we know that that's a lie, but she, weaves the story that, like, you all are going to go down, and the proof that I met the sage is that guy that you ran to on the ship, he's a disciple of the sage. And so it's a good beat, because I have a feeling that where the plot is going is obviously that Kaina will occupy the role of the sage by the end of the story,
because
even if
of her making that shit up.
Yeah, or like by circumstance, right? Because he'll be from the canopy, and he's this inquisitive person. Remember, he was like trying to read the characters that he saw on the blanket, which I thought was a great callback to the request that the sign keeper made to him, which is like, no, don't forget to read when you're on the surface. And there he is, like, he hasn't fully connected the dots yet, but like that is in him. And he also has I keep waiting for that laser tool to come into play,
where he's gonna have to like overuse it, and it's gonna
because they said that that's a problem, and it's like, okay, then I bet that's gonna come up as like a plot point. But specifically, he does have knowledge that other people do not have, and as they make it clear in this episode that these characters are probably going to dive into the snow sea, because I think, again, all the answers to questions are under the snow. They're not above it.
Yeah.
So at some point, he and that group are going to have a lot more information about solving the problems that people are dealing with. So at the moment, the main thing is getting Lilia out of Dodge. But in the long term, for where the story's going, yeah, exactly. It's going to be the adventure, and he will sort of kind of, in a sense, become the sage. Whatever that means.
I think it's all coming together in such a cool way because those people, they never had the technology to survive under the sea. So that's why that shit just never got explored beyond we move up. The sea's moving up, so we build up. Like, that's all we've been doing, and that's all we're gonna do. Yeah. So I really liked how it's kind of like, this is literally like unexplored territory for all these people that are alive currently. Because they are the descendants of the people who lived lower than them. So
yeah, and they also made it like pretty clear how you could do like an expedition under there if you had like those air pockets and things like that. So I'm like, I'm. So
did they explain, like, do the nuts replenish in the air pockets?
They clearly do. I think it's like so in our real world, you have like rebreathing technology where the idea is that if you have oxygen and CO2 when you breathe in and breathe out, that's what you're separating. And so then you have like some, usually it's like looks like it's stone or something, but it's like, you have some kind of thing that will collect the carbon dioxide so that you can kind of breathe and rebreathe with just oxygen getting re-added. Because if you don't do that, then you get CO2 poisoning. So they're just doing it in a natural way. Like there's some kind of plant or these nuts that can kind of like store the CO2. But if they're down there for too long, it gets saturated and then you can't, it can't filter it out of the air. So then going into that oxygen pocket clearly allows it to do the transfer.
So basically those are necessary.
Yeah, which I think is like actually a cool, it's real technology, like in like real, but it's just done in like with the rules of their world, with their like flora and fauna and everything else. And I don't know if there's a way for them to make more of that, because it seemed like all that came from the canopy. But it also makes sense that they had that technology because the air would be so much thinner up there anyway that you would sort of be in a low oxygen environment. And so of course they would have some kind of innovation to survive up there. So I mean, like, Kaina has for a fish out of water character, he's got a lot of like street smarts relative to just how to survive. And those suits that they wear clearly, like, again, because they're in the canopy and it's cold as fuck, like, these are all things that are going to help them when they go down. But until we get to that point, I also like the action that we've been promised, because one of the big issues I have with a lot of very good series is just there's not good antagonists, right? Well-developed antagonists that can drive the drama. They basically people who believe different stuff from the main cast so that there's like something to bounce off of, because even though we're sort of introduced to Lilia and her people as like, oh, these are the innocents, or these are like the good guys, and then you've got like, oh, all the bad people in the empire. I think the girl's name is Ame or Amarode or something like that.
I don't know.
But like,
I think they call her princess or some shit all the time.
Yeah,
right?
she's definitely the princess, and I think she'll come around. That character design is too cute to be a permanent.
Well, also they clearly don't agree with the admiral's like approach to everything.
Yeah,
which is evident from their faces when he skewered homeboy.
Right, but nonetheless, like when Lilia's dad was just speaking the logic of like, okay, why are we going to oppose these people? And the answer actually made a lot of sense, which is like, okay, if we give in to what they want, then we're just accelerating our own demise anyway. Right? So the conflict they're having isn't just like, oh, good versus evil. It's all practical. Everything everyone is doing and thinking and saying are supported by the facts on the ground of the world that they're in.
Yeah, so we're kind of isn't their situation fight for freedom or live as a slave?
Yeah, or like fight for survival or just straight up die. Because like the different sides aren't looking out for each other. No. It's not like, oh, well, we only have this much water and we need to figure out how to make it sustainable and we can trade. No. It's a cutthroat situation. But what I'm getting at is, I think Honda, which is the admiral, I think like he is a brutal character, but he's a very utilitarian kind of guy. And I could absolutely see him not, if there was a solution, let's say it was like, oh, we can figure out how to make unlimited water. Because I remember Lily had kind of said that, like that was what the sage could deliver, as some way to just have water for everybody or whatever it is. I don't think a character like that would be interested in that solution.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that a lot of the culture that we've learned about so far kind of creates the conflict, and I don't think he'd be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess you guys have solved the water thing, so we're all cool, like, we'll just go to trading. Like, nah. No. So I just like it. I like that there's, like, very clear, like, antagonists. The antagonists have a very clear motivation. They have a very clear ideology, and they have some layers where some people don't fully agree, or to at least they're all thinking. Everybody is reasoning about what the fuck is going on and what do they do in a certain situation. So, for example, the Honda Guild thought that they could get something out of Lilia's people by capturing her, but that calculation was incorrect, right? And so now that they know that it's incorrect, whatever they're gonna do with her, the story has changed. Basically, she ain't a hostage for ransom no more. I think they put her up on the top of a ship, so they're gonna probably try to ritually kill her before assaulting the city.
Or they'll kill her like in front of Atland or some shit.
I think that's the idea. I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
So now it's because I was always thinking the whole way through, like, why are they even keeping her alive? Like the moment they find out that the city's not going to negotiate, she's dead. So we got to get Kaina and Yauna to her before that happens. And then the scene pops up where, with the messenger, and then she's in there too. And I'm like, oh, okay, so something else is going on because she has to survive this scene in order to get rescued. And Kaina and Yauna are too far away to do it in this episode. So once that became clear, I'm like, okay, we're going a different direction, which is good. So I'm a fan. Though, one thing I will say is I wouldn't have sent the messenger.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, did the messenger not know that he was going to die? I'm sure.
Probably not.
Yeah, because I'm just like, dude, if that's what he had told me to tell them, I would have been like, nigga.
Yeah, bro, I'm not going.
Like what?
Chill.
They are our literal, like, antagonists. Like, they killed people before. You want me to go tell them niggas to fuck off?
Yeah, we good.
I'm going to die.
With that one. We go with that one.
And then they were like, tie his dead body to a seahorse and send it back. Like, nigga, I could have just never come.
Yeah. What did we accomplish here?
Anger. But she's alive, so that's good. I don't know what did he just like knock her out when he did like that lift?
I guess. I think it was like implied violence, but they didn't they didn't have to show it. It was fine.
Yeah. I do think, now that you said that about like the Admiral, now I do believe that that the princess might be the one that actually would be okay with being like, if we have a solution, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And he might be like a bitch because I said so. Like, we're doing it. Like, doesn't matter what you think. So I can definitely see that being the other side of the coin for sure.
Yeah. I want to see just more. This is one of those series where I like the exposition because it lets me get to know the characters a lot better. Sometimes, depends on the show. You're like, you kind of want to go to like action moments or big dramatic story beats. Whereas like I like the casual sort of banter back and forth. I like the conversations where people are reasoning through problems or kind of explaining their way of thinking about something, which is a testament to just pretty strong writing, in my opinion.
Yeah. Also, as far as you talking about like it being comforting, I think part of it has to do with the sound of the snow sea.
Yeah, you're right. It
being like brown noise or like white noise. Because I know because I just learned about the difference of the noises and the like all the kind of stuff like that. But like different pitches of the noises actually like calms people down. Just to have that like just just like going in the background. Because they do use music in this show a lot, but a lot of the times there's just that in the background. And I think that does a really good job of like setting just like the scene, like making it feel more alive and stuff like that, but also helping it be calm.
Right. Yeah, I think that you know, it was easy to forget after the prior episode that one of the cool things about this world and the setting is that you can very easily have like scenes that are they're alien, but they're also like they're filled with wonder. Like when they were going down the tree, all the shots that you would get of like what it looked like looking down, you know, the trunk and all the clouds and the weird insects and like all that other stuff. Those were like to create a sense of awe of like what's going on. I felt the same way when they finally went into the sea and kind of the camera pans out and you're like, oh, there's a lot here. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the fact that they were kind of in a desperate situation, you would like, can we linger on this a little bit more? Can we?
Well, I want to see what the color reminds me of, like Knights of Sidonia, like that.
Yeah, stuff. Very much so. Yeah, it's the same for Blame. Blame is like black, white, and red are like the three primary colors.
Oh, yeah. I need to finish Sidonia and then I need to go watch Blame. Oh my god.
Blame is crazy. Blame is so then there's a Netflix adaptation which I think it's fine. Like it looks pretty good. It's CGI but it's very atmospheric. It doesn't cover everything. Blame, yeah. Oh. Yeah, okay. I think it came out like a couple years ago, year ago, maybe it's 2 years. But the only thing about that adaptation is that it kind of ends at a very specific point where cooler stuff happens later, but it's a
only
fine
an
place.
Hour and a half. Ew.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a good, like if you don't know anything about Blame, it's a great intro and it's a great like part of the story that they tell. But like there are the most evocative stuff in that series, I think, comes a little bit later, but it's harder to explain without all the stuff they cover beforehand. And there's also like a prequel manga that I would love to see adapted because it's one where there's just a lot more human talking characters in it. Because Blame is very like, it's a tiny cast of people who are actually like characterized and speaking and interacting with each other. In fact, most of the series is very like lonely. Like, you know, sometimes the two main characters are not even together and they're like walking through or traversing through just these cyclopean, almost sort of horrifying, empty expanses of like metal and snow and, you know, weird things. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's like if you were on the, you know, like the Matrix movies, if you could imagine like if instead of taking place in the city, in the Matrix, 90% of the movie took place like running around like the fucked up cityscape that was on the surface. Oh, it would be like very bleak and very not featureless, but just like, I don't know, horrifying, messy. That's kind of what. Yeah, it's like that's what Blame is, and so there's not like a lot of talking, is what I'm getting at. Okay. So, but it's still cool. It's cool.
Cool. What else is there? How are you caught up on High Card?
I am caught up on High Card. I like High Card. I like what they're doing.
I mean, that's my next project after Blue Lock and all blah blah blah. But anyways, I saw that Homegirl split personality finally made its debut.
Yes, and it was I did not know that they were going that way. Like
did she like fuck niggas up big time?
So her character is like a, on the one hand, her like regular personality is kind of like a stressed out office lady, dutiful daughter, you know, that like that's what it is. So I was like, okay, maybe she just has like a slightly different personality when she's fighting, which is partially true because when she actually is in combat, you know, she's much more calm and focused. But her High Card ability is literally it's the first time we've seen a card that installs a whole new personality, where there's like a spirit or something that's in the card where they call Love and Peace, and so it's a literal straight up yandere, like it's a whole other personality. It's not even her. It's like another being.
Oh.
And in addition to being like a bloodthirsty killer and much more, can do crazier shit, she also gets bigger boobs.
Okay.
Just randomly.
Yep, anime, but yeah, okay. Yeah.
But it's clearly like no one else in the show reacts to that.
Oh, I thought they would react to that.
No, not at all. I think
especially like Calorie High homeboy.
No, it was the opposite. When they found, so apparently whenever she transforms, it's like we're fucked because it's one of the most powerful abilities out there, and they don't have. It's hard for them to restrain her.
Oh.
So it's like when they found out that she had transformed in this episode, the Calorie High guy was in the car with Finn, and they get the radio message from the guy who uses plants that like. He's like, bro, Love P is out. And he's like, holy shit, we're fucked. We're fucked. Call everybody. Like, so it's clearly not something that they're into. And I think the reason makes sense because in this episode, we find out that, like, all this thing wants to do is kill. And it's like got like a sadistic obsession with mutilating bodies. And so guess what? The Calorie High guy is like immortal as long as he's been eating.
So she loves him.
She loves to fuck him up. And he's like...
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Okay, I need to get caught. God damn it!
Yeah.
There's too much! Oh my God.
So it was actually... So there was that... So like... There was some really... like pretty good like fight animation. There was some cool ideas. Some good comedy that was a straightforward comedy. But then the high point of the episode for me... was just all the stuff with Love and Peace and how everyone reacted to that I don't know what it is, that entity kind of coming out. And there was a villain of the episode. Actually, there's some other crazy, we talk about some of the other crazy shit that happens at the end when we review it, but there's a villain in the episode that you first think is going to be like the focus of the main story, but then Love and Peace pops out and you're like, all the main cast is like, that's your problem now. Like, good luck, dude. You're about to get fucked up. And yeah. So there's that part. Then there's so the episode that follows that, because that's I think episode 4.
Yeah, there's a new one this week, right? Yeah, correct. Or you watched the one for today? Yeah.
Yeah. So episode 5 is about the crime family. That has been
okay.
That's sort of been operating. We've actually met some of the different members. So like the guy with the ball, like the marbles, is a member of that crime family. Yeah. He's still alive, by the way.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, and they did something with that. But also like the detective who's in charge of the investigation. This episode revolves around the villain from episode 4 who was fighting Love and Peace gets arrested. And because he loses his card, he is now terrified that he's going to be killed by the crime family. And that other girl detective who's like super, about duty.
I remember her from the second episode.
Yeah, she thinks that she can break the case on all of these weird happenings by getting this guy to essentially confess and then get put in witness protection. Whereas like the older detective is like, you about to learn if you think that you can, being the world's most intrepid detective is gonna like get you anywhere in this world. And we very quickly find out that like he knows the head of the other crime family as well as the head of Pinnacle. So he's connected, and it ends with the brutal execution of the villain from the previous episode because he agrees to like rat on. He agrees to rat on the crime family only to find out that the entire police department is basically owned by them, and the main villain fucking kills him in the slowest, most brutal way possible, reminding you that this fucking show is serious. Basically, uses some ability to completely twist his head 720 degrees that you see it. Like,
they show it?
Yes. Yes. And then Finn winds up fighting a gravity user who's there to assassinate the girl detective, and he gets owned. Like, he just loses.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
There's no, like, secret power-up.
No.
Or blah, 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 blah.
Nope. Just loses.
Lost.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. It is the sleeper. Shit.
Yep, it's good. It's good.
Okay. Well, Okay, well, I will be ready for that next week. Oh my god. Okay. Damn, there's so much, and we're halfway through.
Yeah,
we're halfway through. It's not that much to catch up on.
It's also an easy watch. All the episodes. I don't know how far back. You may only be like 2 episodes back.
Yeah,
but
I'm not that far.
But I like all the character designs. There's a character in episode 6, that I think is just like reminds me of a JoJo, like straight out of JoJo, no question about it. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. So I would just recommend at your leisure following up on that beat.
Okay.
Vinland Saga, real quick. Again, there was a episode. Are
people complaining?
I think folks are starting to get it now, but that's because some bigger names have come out and said like this is what real art is, and they're like, okay, I want to also know what real art is, so I will also, yeah. But episode 5,
okay.
Episode 5 is actually one of my favorite parts of the drama of all of Vinland Saga, because Einar, who is the slave who's with Thorfinn, his backstory that we learn in the first episode is that his family was murdered, and he when he was taken into slavery, so he had given up on life because he just didn't think that there was any hope once you became a slave to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And we had watched over 3 or 4 episodes of him being paired with Thorfinn and having like a master who was interested in freeing slaves if they did enough work, that he was sort of like getting his confidence back, his humanity back, after like, you know, having his niece and his sister murdered in front of him for being weak. And then they put him through the ringer because they the young master on the plantation that they work on wants to basically use the slaves to get a kill so he can become a man, which is where all the stuff with like Thorfinn just taking that
the
punishment came from.
And shit, yeah.
But from that, Einar finds out that Thorfinn used to be a Viking warrior, and those are the people who killed his whole family.
Ooh.
And so episode 5 is dealing with Thorfinn's depression about how he doesn't know if he actually wants to live or not. And Einar, who was becoming friends with him, but then realized that like this is the embodiment of the person that he hates. It all culminates at the end of the episode, or the last half, where Thorfinn is having a nightmare where he's back to being his young self and he's murdering people in a village. And as he's having the nightmare, Einar, who's hearing him screaming, wakes up and has like a crazy moment where he basically gets on top of him and just starts choking him. And it's like he's going to kill him. And then Thorfinn wakes up and Einar decides like he can't go through with it because he's thinking about like, you know, the trauma that Thorfinn went through and the trauma that he went through. And basically they manage in the course of about 5 to 10 minutes to have that character work through a lot of very believable emotional pain, and then you start to realize that they can be friends, which is this great sort of evolution for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like normally in a series like this you'd be talking about,
that sounds like a lot more character work than a lot of anime do in a whole season.
That's what I'm saying, is like this would be the point where there'd be some climactic battle or something, but instead there's no fighting. It's just because like even in the previous episode, like Thorfinn didn't fight. He just got.
Oh my god!
Like,
this is why niggas don't like, or not that they don't like it. This is why they're fed up with it, because they have to see people actually put up with their feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
And work through them.
Yeah, like in episode 4, Thorfinn was very clear that he wanted to die, and because he but he never vocalized that, so you had to learn it through him getting physically destroyed and just saying nothing, and pissing everybody off because, you know, all the other warriors who were on the plantation, were just, and they were also like, it was the whole thing like, why isn't he afraid of all these horrible things that are being done to him? Like, he's not flinching every time this guy comes in and like cuts a strip off of him, like he doesn't give a fuck. And then there was the breakthrough moment, was him running into Snake, who's like the head of the mercenaries there, who kind of realizes that this is fucked up, but that he sees the look in Thorfinn's eyes, and he's like, I know that look, you know, I know what that is.
Yeah. And
he tries to do a killing blow for real, and Thorfinn actually dodges. And he doesn't even realize why he did it. And he's like, oh shit. And the guy's like, you don't really want to die. Like, if you wanted to die, your body wouldn't have moved like that. So, like, that was a breakthrough moment because you just get this long shot of, like, Thorfinn's eyes finally opening. Because he's been, like, sort of, like, sullen and looking, like, just fucked up. And that's, like, the first time I think he woke up. Where he's like, wait a minute. It's, like, my depression is still there, but it's, like, it's true. I don't really,
wow,
so you have like that moment before, and so then in the next episode they kind of do something similar for Einar, who at this point in your head he's tormented by the death of his family, and also the fact that like he would boast when they were still alive that he'd protect them, he'd do all this other stuff, but then when push came to shove, the only one who was willing to fight was his niece, and she instead of getting she got like cut to pieces and killed. Not raped, because she was a fighter. They just fucking killed her, like right in front of him, and he couldn't do anything but run and get captured. So like for him, it was the same kind of moment of like this guy Thorfinn is the same type of person who killed my whole family, and maybe he thought that like getting revenge was like this big important thing, like whatever. But when he finally was in a position to do it. It wasn't that he was a coward. It wasn't that he couldn't kill him. It was that like he knew something about this was wrong, because even Thorfinn didn't really want to. He didn't really fight back. It wasn't like like whatever. And he's like, wow, whatever this person is going through or has gone through is just as fucked up as the shit that I went through. Even though we were on the opposite side, he was the predator, but I was the prey. Now it's like, there's a kind of growth that's hard to put into words. That is happening, but there's no like fight scene where Thorfinn does a backflip and throws a knife into somebody's throat, which is what people think this series is supposed to be about, and it's not at all. It's just very good. It's drama, yeah, good stuff.
Sounds fucking good to me.
It's very good.
Okay.
We could talk about Eminence and Shadow.
So I am one episode behind right before the finale.
Oh.
I did it. Well, of course I got spoiled because niggas was going crazy. So he embarrassed the shit out of Homegirl, didn't he?
Oh my God.
Okay. Now I want to watch it. Okay. Never mind. Well, we'll save it for the finale for next week. We'll have all the episodes ready. We'll save it. I knew I should have watched that shit this week.
I just can't get over reading the words perv asshat. Like I just can't get over it.
Perv asshat Anna Rose. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me Anna Rose is not Anal Rose. Like, that's my immediate thought. Once you said there was something off about her name, and I was like, oh, there it is. Got you. Got you immediately.
These people are all fucking silly. All of them.
He does not care. No! He does not give a fuck.
No, he doesn't at all.
So much fun. I love it. But yeah, I'll have to catch up on that next week, y'all. And I will be catching up on Blue Lock too, because shit's popping off from what I'm hearing. As far as Tokyo Revengers goes, I didn't watch this past week's episode, which I think was the episode of the day of Christmas. Because the episode before last, like, that nigga broke up with homegirl because of the daddy and all that kind of shit like that. And I'm kind of just like, what does this mean? Where are we going to go? Why are you teaming up with Kisaki, you dumb bitch? Like, I'm positive he's going to get betrayed. Like, I'm absolutely positive Kisaki's going to fucking be like, yeah, so I'm using you for another plan. And also, fuck you. Like, I'm positive that's what's going to happen. But I have not seen what actually happens. So I will continue watch that, even though it feels like a lot of people aren't really keeping up with that this season. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know if it's any less watched, but I think that the surprise factor is maybe not quite there. That may be what it is. But Takamichi, of course, has some great moments in this season. I think actually, like in season 1, you kind of eventually come to realize that like the main villain for the season is Kisaki.
Yeah.
But then because he kind of gets folded into a part of the cast for season 2, kind of what you said, like, you know, everyone's kind of like, well, when is he going to turn on him? When's he going to turn? When's the turn happening? When's the turn going to go on? But meanwhile, there are
a whole bunch of other things.
Well, there is a good villain for this season. So I would just advise people to, like,
well, that nigga is evil. Like, based off of the little background that they gave us, I'm like, this nigga is, like, crazy. I mean, a lot of them.
No, he's insane. No, it's straightforwardly insane.
Yeah, like, why did you make me beat you? Like, why? Like, what?
Yes.
What? Like, what?
No, certifiable psychopath. And,
like,
in this season, they deal more. Yeah, they deal more with, like, the, I would say, like, adult characters or older characters. Because, come on, like, I said this before, when, if you ever look at the Tokyo Revengers, like, announcements for the live action, and you look at, like, the actors are getting to play these characters, like, these characters are, like, 15 years old, bro! And they've got, like, 38-year-old men playing some of them. Like, come on, like, they're supposed to be kids, whereas, like, in this season, they are mostly faced off with much older people.
Yeah.
So the stakes are higher. Let's put it that way.
Okay. What else what else have I watched? I watched Nagatoro-san. They're doing a really good job with character development for the main guy character now. Because we actually learned his name. His name is not Senpai. His name is Now, which they actually said his name for the first time in 2 seasons.
Wow.
But that was a whole previous little like thing with them learning her name because neither of them knew each other's names.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is it was interesting because it's like, oh my god, you're right. Like you niggas have spent so much time together, and you don't even know each other's names. That's good. Tomo-chan is actually so good, and it's like it's so good in a way where like it has nowhere near the production level of like Horimiya or My Dress Up Darling, but it is just so not refreshing. It's just such a nice, just like, oh, this is a good ride. Like it's a good ride. I'm always gonna laugh, and then I'm always gonna be like, okay, so. They're like slowly. I mean, it's what you said. Like, you know, it with Spy Family, if they got together, then the show will be over. Like, if Yor and Lloyd got together, the show will be over. And I think that is what I'm going into Tomo-chan, looking with like Tomo and June. And what they're doing a pretty decent job of showing is it's not just that, because Tomo is like the most upfront, abrasive character with her feelings that is in the show. She literally confessed in the first like 5 seconds of the series. Mm-hmm. So we have no confusion on where Tomo is. Everyone's confused on what the fuck's going on with June. And what they've been doing is they've been slowly giving us more and more of like where June is mentally, because a lot of the times the show really doesn't follow June's like mind space or what's going on and things like that. So also the supporting cast, or not the entire supporting cast, but Carol and Misuzu, like the 2 girls that are like, you know, the ones that like recognize the Tomo June shit and are actively trying to get them together, but they're also like completely opposite in personality. Like Carol is like, she's like crazy, but not like sinister crazy. She's just like an extremely rich kid who's a genius. So she's like really awkward, and has never had friends in her life. And like, so all the characters have like really, really, really good just like foundations, and then you put the parents on top of it, and it's like, oh my god, like the parents are just like super concentrated versions of you niggas. Like it's even better, but they're not on the screen for the majority of the time. It's like, oh, that's where you get that from. That's where you get that from. Got you, got this, boom, boom, bam, bam. Like even like little stuff where Tomo wasn't invited over to Misuzu's house for like 10 years because she was just like, you break shit every time you come over, so I just stopped inviting you over. And then she gets invited into the house, and the first thing that happens is the mom comes in. She's like, what the fuck is she doing here? Like, what is this? But it's all done in a comedic way. It also just makes things so just, I don't know, it's wholesome, it's funny, and the energy has not dropped like at all. So yeah, as far as rom-coms go, this is gonna be another one I'm just gonna like recommend nonstop. And I think it has like over 500 chapters or some shit like that. Like it's almost at like 600 chapters. So there's plenty of material. Yeah.
Is it like a what do you call it, a 4 thing, or is it like full length chapters?
What's a
the 4 is like the 4-panel format where a lot of like comedies and things that will have like a lot of chapters, but they're really short. You know what I mean?
Oh, maybe that's what that is. I think because this is only like 8 volumes. That's not enough for that much.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Wait, okay, no. I'm seeing something completely different. So I'm seeing 56 chapters.
Okay.
That makes sense. But
that does make sense.
One on another thing, I saw like volume something, and I was like, how long has this shit been going? Like, what the hell is this? But regardless, really enjoying it. Great rom-com. It's super easy to follow, and yeah, just grand time. Is there anything else? Okay, Handyman Saitou, still fucking great. Just nonstop, just really subverting all of my expectations. And Campfire Cooking, like, same thing. I think they're really gonna like add in the elements of like, yeah, he is a hero, and there are MMO RPG aspects of it, but at the end of the day, it's still focusing on the cooking and like, you know, how the cooking relates to everything and how this kind of meat relates to our world and what is the flavor profile and what kind of sauce is he gonna use and all that kind of shit like that. So yeah. I think that's everything that I've watched.
Yeah, I think for me, I caught up on Mononogatari. Really like it. Really do. I mean, it's one of those series where the gimmick is what is advertised, which is, they're these sort of spirits. They all have powers and looks that are based on. Is it doing like
Spirit of the Week?
Sort of. There's an underlying story that has connected every episode so far, so it hasn't felt, with maybe like one exception, it hasn't really felt like we're sort of just going from case to case, which is what I thought it might be. And the reason why I thought that way was because in the first like 4 episodes, the main story is about the main character basically getting accepted into the household, and so that meant that they laid out in like episode 2 that he's got to get these signatures from each of the members of the household to basically say like, yeah, we fuck with this guy, like he's cool, he's not a threat, and he can stay in the household.
Yeah.
So because that was the actual underlying story, going sort of to each person and sort of having a little bit of slice of life with them, followed by like a spirit case that would then settle whatever differences that they might have, made it feel like it was more of an episodic show, rather than a one long serialized story. Okay. In episode 4, he more or less like wraps up the connections that he's built with the other spirits in the house. In fact, they even note inside the episode that they feel like Hyoma, who's the main character, is made progress a lot faster than they expected that he was going to, because the Botan basically tells him that he has to do it in a week or in a few days. But the spirits had actually planned on doing the same thing, but over the course of 6 months. So the fact that he made so much progress, kind of, they were like, oh shit, this is kind of, we've gotten ahead of schedule with him, and now he's kind of, you know, everyone's kind of cool with him to some degree. Fuck, what do we do? Well, we find out in episode 4 what the reason for them making him jump through hoops. And the reason is that all of the spirits that are in that house are part of a set of items. And now I'm not Japanese, so it didn't immediately stick out to me. But apparently, each one represents a piece of a very traditional wedding set of items that you would give to a new bride. And so the reason why they're so protective of her is because they want her to get married. And so they drop the act and basically ambush her and Hyoma and say, like, because he's the first person that we have accepted. This is perfect. Y'all two gonna get married. And obviously the two of them are like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, yeah. And it's a good scene because Botan doesn't see it coming, and so she's just like completely lost. She's like about to lose her mind. And then Hyoma, his character is like very reserved in public, so he doesn't react at all. Like his face is just like okay, this is weird. But then I was in my head, I'm like, oh, they're gonna play. This is gonna be the joke, because as soon as he gets out of that scene and he's like by himself at the door, he like the facade drops. He's like, holy shit, what the fuck? So like, again, those two. The relationship between Hyoma and Botan is the actual core of the show. Okay.
I kind of garnered that from the opening with like the cherry blossoms and them looking at each other, and then I mean, there were a lot of whatchamacallit, like allegories to it, or just like hints. There were a lot of like hints to it all over the place. So yeah, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, so it's really a fantasy action romance series.
Well, I gotta get caught the fuck. God damn it!
Yeah, okay. That's what it is. And so then the sort of structure of each episode makes a lot more sense. So like the first half of most episodes is a kind of slice of life drama that involves Botan, Hyoma, and then all of or different sets of characters from the spirits who live in the house. And then the last half of the episode is usually some kind of like action series or action plot that then drives forward to an emotional sort of come together moment for some number of those characters. And that's the actual structure. And so therefore the long-term story that's holding the whole show together is the A story is the romance story. And the B story is all of the
action shonen.
Yeah, like the politics around the fact that like, that these spirits hate them. Exactly. And that, Botan in particular is someone who for reasons we don't know yet in the plot, she is somebody that all the spirits already know about. And apparently her spirits. Yeah, and her power attracts other spirits to her, but they also are warned in their own communities to not go anywhere near her. So there's this interesting, like, in episode 5, this is the first time Botan has actually attacked herself while she is by herself. And you're like, okay, something is changing, that these spirits don't feel fear of going after her. And, there's some action scenes and everything else. And so that B plot of like what's going on behind the scenes, where are these organizations of spirits that are popping up coming from, why are they targeting Botan now, when they've been leaving her alone before, who are the leaders of this thing, like what is going on. And of course Hyoma trying to track down the spirit that killed his family. That's like the C plot. All those are still going on, but I would have thought, based on the way the show was promoted, that the order of those plots in terms of importance and time would have been reversed, where it's mostly about him tracking down this other spirit. Then it's about getting to figure out like, oh, what's going on with Botan, and then maybe like underneath that there's like a cautious kind of like romance angle. And because it's the other way around, I think it's better, because you spend a lot more time getting to know all of the characters, because at the end of the day, it's not going to win on production value. It's not going to win on, being specifically unique, things you've never seen before. It actually has to win on you being interested in the development of all the characters and their individual and group arc. And so it's a good thing that it's sort of organized in that way. And I enjoy watching it. And there's still plenty of like creativity and the abilities and other things like that, but that's what it is. So I like it.
Yeah. Damn. Why is there so much stuff?
Yeah, the only other thing I need to get around to catching up on is this episode 6 of Revengers, because unlike some of the other like B tier shows that are out this season, Revengers looks really good in motion, and it looks really good kind of,
well, I think I saw some clip that the doctor took his shirt off again. So
well, I mean, listen,
gotta make some
good.
Gotta make some stuff happen.
But there are some really like great kills to look forward to almost every episode. Okay. So that's the thing that, like, you know, they put energy into it. Like, the story's cool, and the mystery and everything else that's going on is also interesting. And every week you see a new character design that's like more and more I don't want to say wacky, makes it sound dumb, but like more like
stylized.
Stylized, unique, and cool. And the factions that they're building into the world and all that stuff are cool, but at the end of the day, you can pretty much count on somebody getting owned badly in a great, well-animated fight or a well-animated scene. So you always kind of have that to come back to. And I know that, I don't know if it was the last episode or whatever, but like there's a lot of scenes where if you break them down, it's really pretty simple. It's like people in a room talking to each other, but they keep things moving, and they keep like the plot going. Like there was like a circus in episode 5, and like, you know, but it was like Chinese inspired circus. So it's like, oh, okay, that's not what I would have guessed would even be in the show. And the fact that they chose that aesthetic meant that they could play around with like tropes from like circus type characters, and then also like Chinese characters.
Yeah.
Which are underutilized, I think, in a lot of this shit. So I'm with it.
Well, what else? Is there anything else you watched, read? I have a recommendation that I read, but I read too much shit, so I'm just gonna keep it in a recommendation.
Oh, there was something that I had kind of come back to. Oh, so this is not it's not like an endorsement or anything like that, but I'm finally starting to see webtoon style, like manhwa style series that are produced by Japanese authors.
Oh,
which is very
okay.
I've been waiting to see this. There's a series called Undead King, and it's new, so it's just dropped recently, but it's being produced a
low ranking adventure with the power of monsters.
Yes.
Becomes unbeatable. Okay.
Yeah. It's not, I'm not saying it's like, you know, it's interesting. It's not like, you know, the most gorgeous or crazy series, so I'm not like recommending it at all, but the author and the production company the author is Japanese, and I think the studio that's producing it is, some of it is in Korea and some of it's in Vietnam, some of the people who are involved, and it's in full color, and it's in webtoon format. And I've always, you know, was wondering how long it would kind of take, because, you know, Shonen Jump and what's the other one that Katakawa owns? Those two magazines are still like the primary launching pad for Japanese manga artists to get known and to make a lot of money. So it's still like, because they're still produced in print and because they're still produced in black and white, the format of the content that goes in, that format is still one that is sort of the standard in Japanese markets. But webtoons have been killing it, and even with Jump's digital offerings, like I think there's a recognition that more people want to engage with content on screens. And so the webtoon format is kind of the preeminent version of that. And also, just from like a production point of view, I didn't appreciate this, but one of the reasons why it feels like webtoons get pumped out of a lot of these like Korean and Filipino, Vietnamese, and even Chinese studios is because the whole process for producing a webtoon is so much more decentralized than it is for a typical manga. Like a manga in Shonen Jump might have, outside of like the author, if the author's not doing all the art, it's maybe like 7 to 8 people, including like, you know, understudies, editors, so on.
Yeah.
It's not a very big group. But then you take someplace like Red Ice Studio or Ant Studio, which they produce a lot of the manhwa webtoons in like the Korean market. You'll have like an author. The author is very rarely the same person doing any of the art. And they may have a staff of up to 30 people working on it. It won't be their only thing that they're working on, but like, you know, your inker, your colorist, you might have like 4 or 5 colorists, you know, like it's not unusual to have a much bigger distribution of labor, and you have like an entire studio might be working on 6 different series at the same time, but you just don't have that like singular creative burnout that easily happens. And then like, let's say your outliner, the work is
spread out so much.
Exactly. And it's also easier to replace people who kind of get burned out because there's so much redundancy.
Like
and you can literally, it's why a lot of them all look the same. It's why they make so much aggressive use of CG assets and like paint over and draw over stuff. But anyway, that's a long way of saying, like, I'm keeping my eyebrow raised about what the progression of, or the lean into webtoon format for natively Japanese produced or written series will be in the future. So I thought it was interesting to run into that.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and Undead King.
Knows anything about that?
Yeah, and Undead King has 3 primary artists on it. So you have like the author, and then there's 3 other people who do the artwork, the primary artwork. I mean, that in of itself is a more sustainable model than a lot of what mangaka have to deal with, where usually you are writing it, you are drawing it, you are proofing it.
Oda not having to draw?
Oda is interesting because even he has three understudies currently, I think. Mm-hmm. But his thing is, you know, he delegates a lot. That he's written about that in like interviews where it took him many years, but now he like kind of is much more willing to let go of stuff, and it's a good thing because not only is it better for his life, but if you ever notice, like a lot of the big mangaka who've like come out in the last 4 to 5 years have come out of his studio tree because he lets them have more autonomy, and a lot of them are also simultaneously pitching stuff to Shonen Jump to get on. Is it the guy Mashal? The guy behind Mashal is a former Oda student, and there's like a couple others. So that group, I think they understand where their bread is buttered, and so that guy's not killing himself. But I just think that it's good to see manhwa, the format, becoming more explored outside.
Could mean for Hunter x Hunter, if he could just tell people, oh my god, we could actually get somewhere. Okay, I'm getting my hopes up.
So yeah, don't do that to yourself.
We don't know how long or if this will catch on. So yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. I just don't have an opinion about whether or not this particular project is like where anybody wants to hang their hat on it. But yeah. Other than that, I don't really have any new recommendations.
Okay. Then my recommendation for the week is a BL surprise, but this one doesn't have any sex in it, so it's actually super accessible. It's very similar to the time that I recommended I Think Our Son Is Gay, which one is like super small format, like really short vignettes. But this one's like a one and done. It's over. And it's called Me, Daddy, and Daddy. And it's about 2 gay men who met in college. They started dating. They got married, or Japan legalized gay marriage. They got married, and then they adopted a little an orphaned boy who was like an infant. So at first glance, I'm like, okay, so you know, like, what are we gonna be doing here? Like, what are we talking about? Where are we gonna be going? And I just want to say that the manga does a fucking amazing job at the comedy beats, and that both of the fathers have extremely defined personalities, and it is, at first glance, you're like, oh, this is so wholesome, but it's actually super duper duper fucking serious simultaneously, because there's like whole fights, there's like trauma dumping, There's like shit that the little kid goes through in kindergarten because both of the dads are gay. Like, it actually touches on like actual like real life shit, and it's not just the gay stuff. It's also just like I feel like I'm not a good person, and so hence I'm not a good parent. And it's like your partner being like, why would I be with you if you're not a good person? And why would I trust to have a child with you if you're not a good person? But then that insecurity comes from somewhere else in their life. So it was a phenomenal read. Like, really, really, really fucking good. Actually, I wish there were more volumes of it, because what they gave us of all the characters, I'm talking about like the main couple, the son, the like supporting kids at school. They were like, shut the fuck up, like it doesn't matter. They even have a mother character who was going above and beyond with like her acceptance, and it got to the point where they were like, you gotta chill on this shit, because like it's almost as though you are making it seem as though like by you calling us out so much, and by you saying you're doing such a great job, or no one else can do this, you're making us seem like it's not normal, like it's not just like, you know, us just raising a kid. And she had to like basically be like, oh shit, like I guess I am, like goddamn. And then
that's cool.
They even had something with like a little like one off with her kid, who was definitely like a tomboyish girl, and the grandmother, who had already like insulted the gay couple, of course, because she's an old ass fucking hag, insulted the gay couple. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in this, and they get so much done in like, I think it was like 7 chapters. They get so much done. It's so good, but all throughout it, there's comedy. And they know exactly when to use the comedy. It's not just like, this is super serious, oh, we're going to drop a little comedy. It's like, no, this is like a serious thing. And we are going to show you how people, or how this couple and this community works through it. So it's real. I recommend it, like, and I'm not recommending it just for the BL. I'm recommending it as being like, it's a really good manga. Like, if you are looking for something that is about like exploring like the hardships of just childhood, like child rearing, and especially in Japan for one, and just like, you know, interpersonal relationships with people that you don't want to have relationships with, but you have them because of the other people in your life. It's really good. Really, really good. I wanted to like reread it right after I finished it, but I was like, nah, save that shit for when you're just like, oh, I need something to be like, reread that shit, because it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, Me, Daddy, and Daddy. Well, actually, no, don't search Me, Daddy, and Daddy, because there are a whole bunch of like American like children's books about that. So the Japanese name is Boku no Papa to Papa no Hanashi. I cannot give you guys the link to this because the website that it is on is, yeah. But you can find it out there. You'll find it. If you just type that in there, you'll find it. But yeah, it's one of those websites where it's like it's a free for all. So, you know, don't go on it in front of your parents. Don't do that, or significant other. I don't recommend that. But yeah, really, 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 really good. Like so good. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I try to recommend that again before the year is over with. But highly, highly, highly recommend that. Like, exuberant praise. News. I guess we skipped over news. Is there anything?
Coming? I mean, not. Nothing that's like really huge. I was gonna say that I did talk a friend of mine who doesn't read manhwa at all to pick up Player, and they've been enjoying it.
Oh!
So I feel like I converted one.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm assuming, is Player doing well, like popularity wise? Like we don't have to worry about it disappearing, do we?
I don't think it's doing poorly, but the problem that I have is, so in the Japanese market, you can, at least for Shonen Jump, you could do a lot of prognostication based on two figures that are publicly available. One is volume sales on a monthly and weekly basis. Those get published. And the second is the jump popularity polls, which they're not a perfect indicator of interest, but usually you can kind of tell that if you're outside the top 10, you might be on the bubble. Like as far as like a series goes. So that is those are some like well understood metrics that usually help guide, guessing about the future. How well is the series doing? Are they going to get more investment? Are they on the verge of being canceled? Blah blah blah. So that's for like Japanese shit.
Yeah.
For webtoons and manhwa, it is so much more disassociated from metrics. So like one thing you can look at is the number of subscribed readers on platforms like Webtoons or some of the other ones. There's something they call like Mocha something or whatever. Some of the big Korean and international platforms. You can look at two metrics. One metric is the number of what they call weekly subscribers. So people who are not just like views of a chapter, but actually people who are in the paying tier, where you don't have to like have the 3-week delay or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
So that is a reasonable metric. And then the other is the actual number of unique views that a series has had in total. So obviously the sub number and the view number are related to each other, but they are not necessarily precisely related, because for example a series might start and it has a lot of popularity, so it gets a lot of subs, but then readership itself actually drops off. But it could be hidden if the number is very very big, relative to like the number of chapters that are out. I can give like a ballpark. So for an American series, like something that's non-Korean, so like shit, I'm trying to think of like a good example of one, but a new series dropping that's not made by a Korean author, if they get anywhere between 60 to 100,000 subs in the first like month of publication, that's usually a sign that the series has a strong following, and so Webtoons will continue to pay for its production. It's just Webtoons I'm talking about.
Okay.
If it's a Korean series, you probably want to like multiply that by like 2 or 3, and that'll kind of tell you if it's doing well. So that's one metric. And then the last one is, so there are these big studios that have kind of like permanent contracts with different platforms like Webtoons. So it's not an individual author selling their project to Webtoons. The studio itself has like a deal where they'll be like, okay, produce this number of series for us in a year. And so sometimes you can figure out if like a Ant Studio or Red Ice has like a new series starting, you can probably guess that it'll get at least 30 to 40 chapters, especially if it's based on a light novel, which is what a lot of these are, is that they're just light novel adaptations. And if the light novel sales are good, even if the Webtoon subs are not necessarily high, that's also a pretty good chance that it will continue, because the company might be making most of its money by driving people to buy the light novel. So the Webtoon series is just kind of advertising for the light novel. So those are, but we see they're all kind of floaty, disconnected, and you don't get them from any one place. Whereas like with manga, you can pretty much tell if volume sales are down and the show is not high in the popularity poll, it's not long for this world.
Okay.
So that's what I know.
So hopefully, it's been around for a minute. So, we're in the 130s-esque. So it'll be fine. But yay, more people supporting it. Because... Did I get caught? I didn't get all the way caught up yet. No. I didn't even get to Rand's new ability reveal. So, we shall see. I do have... I guess news-wise-ish? Gridman is doing that, like, compilation movie thing. Which, hopefully, they announce something brand new. with it after the movie comes out. And this is anime adjacent. The fallout in the Genshin Impact community because of Elliot Gindi or whatever the fuck his name is. But
yeah, that whole situation. So I know people who know him.
Oh,
and it's been real bad.
Ooh, well, I just wanted to just like the thing. I mean, I read that whole thread. I read the Google Doc. I read all that shit, and I don't know. It's kind of like worrisome how like obsessed people get with like this stuff because of a relation to like their favorite character. I don't personally, me myself, I've never experienced something like that where like I like a character so much that like I will become like obsessed with their voice actor and be like, I want to have like contact and interaction with you because of what you've done. I'm more so of just like, I respect that person and they are talented, but I'm not to say this as though like, you know, oh, like you made yourself a victim or something like that. I'm just like very interested in just like why there is no like stop feature for you to basically be like, hey, I had my interaction, like I'm cool and I'm out of here, and not like idolizing these people, these like these regular people who you don't know.
Right.
I don't know where that comes in, and but that's a whole conversation with like stands in general. But as far as this situation goes, it's a hot fucking mess. It's shitty boo boo. Like, wow.
Yeah, wow. It's a weird but not uncommon situation. I'm always of the opinion that when you have a lot of unwatched spaces, it just creates the opportunity for moral harm. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. And, you know, social media is like one giant unwatched space. And then you've got like these minor celebrities who then can develop weird parasocial relationships. Well, power trips, yes, but also like parasocial relationships that fans of their work create with these people. As long as they're one-sided, like let's imagine I'm a writer and I have millions of people who love my writing, but I never really interact with them directly. Yeah. It's still a weird relationship to have, but I'm not in a position where I can exploit that, or I might be tempted to exploit that. But when you start to connect with people who already hold you in very high esteem because of like the things that you do, and it's unwatched, all it does is kind of create the opportunity for people to like take the next step when they know that they shouldn't be doing that. And I'm not necessarily giving cover to anybody doing anything that's wrong, but like it's a function of the environment. It's not just that these people are bad people. It's there's opportunity getting created. And frankly, I think fans have an unhealthy sort of perspective when it comes to creators in general. Like they assume that, for example, they are better morally and ethically than they have any reason to assume just because they like the shit that they made, which is a mistake in and of itself. But then also you have the people who are just predators, so then that's another problem. So
yeah, but yeah, that was messy. Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
What else is there? Oh, and I mean, is this anime related? I don't give a fuck. They're remastering Batten Kaitos, and I never got to play them. So I'm extremely fucking excited because it's monolith soft. So, yeah.
I've always heard that the story for Batten Kaitos is awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I've always heard. It's super well written.
Yeah, I heard gameplay not so much, but I've always heard that the story was like, I mean, and now that I know, the moment that I found out, because I remember it being good, but I never had a GameCube, so I was just gonna be like, I guess I can't play it. But then in the far-flung future, with like the Xenoblade and all kinds of shit like that, I'm like, wait, that's Monolith Soft? Oh, wow. Okay, well, now I gotta play it, but I'm not gonna go buy a fucking GameCube and like track this shit down and pay like 90 to 100 for an original CD or some shit like that. Like, who knows? And now they're remastering both of them and they're coming out. on the Switch. So even better.
I do have like a minor, it's not a rant, it's just like a complaint. Because I engage a lot of people online, and it's sort of like when you talk to people online about stuff, like let's say issues that are happening in a community. So to me, my understanding is if I say X is happening, people are doing Y, that the people is not the person I'm talking to. It's not a veiled, like, kind of dig at anybody. It's a generalization of what other folks are doing. But in the last week, around like anime topics, entertainment topics, other things, I've been in conversations where I will explicitly say, I'm talking about other people. I will make a generalization, and the person will be like, well, you don't know that about my life. I'm like, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about other people.
Yeah, well, people are...
Not you.
Insecurities run wild, so... Ain't nothing you can do about them.
Anime niggas is sensitive as fuck. That's what I'm just getting at.
Well...
Niggas need to chill.
I mean, that's what happens when you, like, pair your, like, self-worth and personality to an IP. So, like, I mean... It ain't worth it. Like,
agreed.
I hate when niggas say this because I feel like it's so... It's not a good enough insult, but like touch grass. I feel like that's not a good enough like thing to tell them to do. I was like, it's not... That's just like the very beginning of what they need to do. But yeah, like touch grass. Like, no. It's not about you. But
Right.
The internet is forever though. So take that screenshot, send it to their boss. Get them together.
Shit's crazy.
Yeah, that's all I have. Yeah. News. Yeah. I did my recommendation. We covered those. Yeah. Okay. So, we're going to be starting a new segment where we're going to be asking ourselves and you all a question of the week, and then we're going to come back with our answers at the beginning of the next episode. And for this week, I mean, James came up with the episode, but we will have questions that we will have thought about beforehand, but then also sometimes we will form the questions as we go through the episode and we talk about the current things from this week. So, James, what happened this week?
So one of the themes I took away from at least the stuff I was watching this week was the idea of strong supporting casts that are able to drive story, drive action, and drive interest without the main character necessarily being involved. Obviously, there are series that are more ensemble oriented, but in particular, I'm thinking of series like Hunter x Hunter, or could be Kuroko no Basket, my favorite Slam Dunk, like series where the supporting cast get a lot of time on their own to be successful or to move the storyline on their own. So I think what we're hoping to talk about next week are examples of what we think personally, at least in our watching history, are the strongest supporting casts. And if you all have any ideas or any suggestions, please leave them in the comments of this video or shoot them to us on Twitter.
Then that will be the homework. And then honestly, you all can let us know what you think those people or those characters are in the comments of this episode. It's really easy to comment on YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube. But elsewhere, you can let us know on Instagram because there will be a clip of it, etc., etc. All right, that's all this week, y'all. So if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on social media, especially on YouTube at just regular anime savants. You can find us on Twitter on regular anime_savants because that person hasn't given up the name yet. And then on Instagram, TikTok, and your podcast platform of choice.
Yep, and you can always hit me up on Twitter at Neural Handshake. But please, if you're going to go and chat with us on Twitter, use the Anime Savants Twitter account. That's what it's there for. We post clips, we post links to other things, our upcoming collaborations. But yeah, reach out to us, chat with us, have a good time. Other than that, peace out.
Bye.